correct views. Sam might be Gangi doing political commentary as it were for the Media Speak. You can find the MediaSpeaks.com. Got one of my very rare colds and been tied up with a whole bunch of wacko personal stuff, and the holidays have not posted in a minute. So I'm happy to hear from so many of you now tuning in. I have a bunch of stuff to get to. Unfortunately, I'm not a whole lot of it's particularly good news, but Rand Paul here, the man, the myth, the legend. Let's be real. I mean, I call him that all the time, but let's be real. He's not Ron Paul. We know this. However, there's a lot of people I think that are like I am. They're going to probably pull the lever for Trump, but their heart's not in it like it would be for Rand. Trump's right on a bunch of things. We'll get to it later. I get it. I'm not tied into the two-party system. I still may vote libertarian. I have throughout most of my adult life. But Rand is really onto something here. Do you realize whenever a fascistic mindset takes over a nation, it takes over, looks like it's going to be low def today. The mindset is taken over by incremental infringements on the freedom within the structure that already exists. What I mean by that is if you look at the way Mussolini took over Italy, it was in increments. And a lot of it involved spying on the very people that were in charge of keeping everyone free and safe. Well, this happened in Nazi Germany. The spying was legendary. I mean, legend. I don't have to give you a history lesson on that, I imagine. Everyone knows it. Done in increments. And what we're seeing here are the three branches of government being obliterated by spying, and giving a whole lot of power to the executive branch. Well, the trouble with that is the road to tyranny. That is the road of oppression. That is the road that destroys everything that was systematically laid out for us in the Constitution. The rights that were given to you by God upon your birth. Okay? This is Steve Watson, Prison Planet. Paul appalled by NSA spying in Congress. GOP presidential candidate Rand Paul has called for limiting the NSA's powers even more after it emerged that the spy agency has been snooping on members of Congress. Do you understand? Do you understand that the whole purpose? All right, she's got the HD up. Give me a second, live listeners. Really. All right, you guys haven't missed anything. I've just been talking about how you end up with fascism. Sorry, high def people. We do our best here at the show. We really do. You didn't miss much. You're fine. The problem is we have three branches of government. Welcome aboard. We have three branches of government for a reason. That reason is to make sure that democracy, or we actually have a constitutional republic, but we'll go with it. Democracy has the best chance of flourishing. Liberty, if you will, has the best chance of flourishing. I don't think we have any volume, Christel. Under a system that has checks and balances within itself. I don't see a green light on that camera. When you take that away, it might not have one on that cam. When you take that away, then what you've done, they're called checks and balances for a reason. To prevent absolute power from coming and corrupting absolutely, as it's been said that it's done. It might be fine, don't worry. It's a new camera, guys. I'm appalled by it. And this is exactly why we need more NSA reform. And the debate in Washington now has unfortunately been going the other way. The senator urged, appearing on Fox News. Since the San Bernardino shooting, everyone is saying, oh, we need more surveillance of Americans, Paul added. In reality, what we need is more targeted surveillance, Paul declared. I'm not against surveillance. I'm not against it, but I am against indiscriminate surveillance. And also, this is not unusual, Paul added, explaining that the NSA has been trolling the communications of Americans when listening to foreign agents. It goes on that it emerged yesterday that the Obama administration took the decision to eavesdrop on foreign dignitaries Well, the president declared the surveillance programs were being curtailed. In other words, he told you and other world leaders, hey, we've overstepped our bounds. We've messed up and we're sorry. As the communications of allies with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu were monitored, so were the interactions with U.S. members of Congress, as well as the American private interest groups. So let me explain to you what you have here. What you have here is a classic layout of the road to tyranny. The street signs are up and we're driving straight forward. If you are having a legal conversation as a congressman with someone in Israel, there are certain checks and balances that you have to do. You're not allowed to breach the Logan Act, which they do at the Bilderberg meeting, by the way. You're not allowed to breach the Logan Act. But beyond that, you are protected from the other branches of government spying upon you. Well, if they're listening because they want to know what Benjamin Netanyahu is about to do illegally by spying in Israel, then what you're doing is limiting the checks and balances which have been put in place to keep us free as people. Do you understand? Am I talking into a camera for nothing, or are people understanding here? This is the whole fundamental purpose of the Constitution. It's why we're Americans. I don't give a damn if you think Black Lives Matter or all lives matter. We're Americans here. One unnamed U.S. official revealed the Wall Street Journal that the practice raised fears in an oh shit moment when the executive branch would be accused of spying on Congress. The Obama administration was wary of this and so simply allowed the NSA to decide what to share and what not to. We didn't say do it. The U.S. official said it. We didn't say don't do it. Well, this is what Rand says. This is why I like Rand more than Trump. It's an invasion of our privacy. We can see how it would stifle free speech if you are going to eavesdrop on our congressmen, and that it might stifle what they say and who it is that they communicate with, Rand Paul warned. This is a big problem, and it's not a new one, and we absolutely need more controls on the NSA and more controls on our intelligence agency, the senator added. He's a man, I'm telling you, he's the man, but he's like 2%. Paul also spoke about the upcoming GOP debate, saying that he is confident that he will make the cut for the next debate. There was a national poll out this week that had me in 5th place, only 1 point on the 4th place, he said, adding, I don't think it's fair to have artificial distraction, and he would like to keep Jeb, Chris Christie, John Kasich, and Carly Fiorina in it because he's concerned about fairness. I actually like more people in the debate. I don't have a problem with it. I think that the third parties should be allowed in the presidential debates, for instance. I think that as well. I don't think more voices is bad. And 2 stories in a row here, rather disturbing news regarding HIV. Prison, as I think that there should be, prison for HIV positive man who didn't warn 3 sexual partners. And if you think I'm talking about this one guy, I'm not. I have 2 stories here, and I need you to trust me and simply listen to me. This is by Rudy Miller. Ricky Webster was a child of an HIV positive mother, but he still had a strong chance to thrive. It says he was raised by adoptive parents in Hunterdon County who gave him the love, medical care, and moral upbringing that they felt would allow him to succeed despite his early setback. There's that word again. But the 26-year-old Wilson Borough man threw away those opportunities when he repeatedly had unprotected sex with women who didn't know that he had the HIV virus. In other words, he just started bringing it out, or as Trump says, schlonging people and not telling them that he had the virus that causes AIDS, which in my opinion, if you cheat on someone today, it's almost a matter of attempted murder, depending on how you did it. Not that it makes it any better, regardless of how you do it. Webster was sentenced to 33 to 66 months. Good. In prison, plus 2 years of probation. Good. For having sex with at least 3 times each with a Nazareth woman and 2 Easton women this year, neglecting to tell them of his condition. This ranks among the most cowardly of human acts, Northampton County Senior Judge Leonard Zettel told Webster. This was not only disrespectful, but it borders on the most heinous and deplorable acts. Again, we're not talking about genital warts here. We're talking about HIV. He wrote, on my part, it was stupid. For the victims, I would not intentionally try to hurt them. I would argue that if you're slogging somebody when you're HIV positive, you're trying to hurt them. And the reason that I'm bringing this up as such an important issue is here, the second story. TheFederalist.com. Planned Parenthood says hiding HIV, that would be the virus that causes AIDS for you Usher fans, hiding HIV from sex partners is a right. What they're saying is you don't have to tell somebody if you have a history of manic depression. It's your right to keep it quiet. Well, then it must be your right to also not tell anybody if you're going to put your sexual organs with theirs and risk giving them a disease that is incurable. Oh yeah, you can live for years and years and years if you get the pills and your body happens to react well to it. Why don't you look up how many people the cocktail doesn't work for? And I'm not coming at you as a sexually moral person because I'm really not. But I'm sorry. I draw the line here. I can only be so open-minded before my brain falls out. This is not a direction that we want to go in. Mark my words. The social justice warriors have sold you everything from gay marriage to fat being healthy. They are going to push and make it so that it's legal to not tell somebody if you are HIV positive. Is anybody at all hearing me here? Is this not one of the most important things you've ever heard? Because I think it matters a whole lot. If you have kids, I guarantee it matters. In a recent interview with Matt Lauer, excuse me, I'm still fighting this, and I'll be over it in mere days. You've seen my vitamin regime. After Charlie Sheen disclosed that he is HIV positive and has been aware of his HIV status for approximately 4 years, since Sheen is well known as a sexual legacy and claims to have had sex with 5,000 women, as you see here on FatCam, Matt Lauer and the rest of humanity were understandably concerned that Sheen may have infected some of his many partners with HIV over the years. Lauer asked Sheen pointedly, have you since the time of your diagnosis? And he says with no exception, he's never hidden it from anyone. Well, listen to this. Would it surprise you to know that Planned Parenthood disagrees? International Planned Parenthood Federation, of which Planned Parenthood Federation of America is an official affiliate, maintains that it is a person's human right not to tell their sexual partners that they are HIV positive if they don't want to. Now, in the exchange with Lauer and Sheen seemed to assume that it was very important that you would let someone know this. And I hope that he's telling the truth there. Well, the fact that I even have to try to explain this, do you understand the importance of the words that I am commenting on here? Go ahead, infect people, it says. It's all laid out in an International Planned Parenthood Federation booklet for HIV positive youth entitled Happy, Healthy, and Hot. It says, quote, young people living with HIV have the right. Oh, they do. They have the right to decide if you'll ever die. They have the right to decide if, when, and how to disclose their HIV status. It continues, sharing your HIV status is called disclosure. Your decision about whether to disclose may change with different people and situations. Yeah, like if you're hoping to get laid that night, you just won't tell your sexual partner because you're feeling like your human rights matter more than that person's life on that given day. You know, you were horny, so it's fine, right? It's fine. You have the right to decide if, when, and how to disclose your HIV status. That is madness. If there's anybody listening to my voice that stands up for that, there's something seriously, seriously warped in your freaking head. In other words, Planned Parenthood thinks it's your human right. Excuse me. This sucks. Planned Parenthood thinks it's your human right to risk exposing other people to a potentially deadly disease without telling them. Most of the states in the union disagree with Planned Parenthood, but how long will it take for that to change? Let me let you in on something. Do you realize that indiscretions in the past, such as Monica Lewinsky and Bill, the blowjob, do you realize that it changed the nature of sex in this country? And I don't really have a problem with sexual liberation. I have a problem with sex replacing love and sex being considered the be-all, end-all. If two people that are in love decide to play around, so be it. That's not what we've seen here. What we've seen is it's okay to cheat. It's okay to do anything you want with anybody you want, regardless of who you hurt. And now it's gone to the level of being allowed to hide that you have AIDS, that you have HIV. If that becomes the norm for one generation, let's say you and I think it's nuts, but they start teaching it to kids 10 years from now. When those kids grow up, it will be normal, and it will be normal not to tell people whether or not you have HIV. That's what they want to be normal. What about criminal charges? In 35 states, if you are someone who is HIV positive, have sex with someone else without divulging it, you can be charged with a crime. And Sheen said he understands that. Well, good, because I think that's the exact way it needs to be. You are not allowed to give somebody a deadly disease without telling them that you have it. I don't care if it's AIDS or Ebola. Remember when Ebola broke out, people were sneaking into the country and we all condemned them for literally caring more about their life than anyone else's life? But we at least said we understood where the panic came from. This has now reached a level where your sexual gratification matters more than whether or not the person you just had sex with lives or dies. I'm sorry. I don't bend that far, friends. I bend really, really far. I don't bend that far, and I never will. Fortunately for him, International Planned Parenthood Federation is working to change that. Happy, Healthy, and Hot explains some countries have laws that say people living with HIV must tell their sexual partners about the status before having sex, even if they use condoms or engage only in sexual activity with a low risk. Yeah, because, low risk is fine. You might get HIV, so it's very unlikely. So you don't need to know, right? It's just your life. It's just a little bit of death. These laws violate the rights of people living with HIV by forcing them to disclose this or face criminal charges. No, it guarantees that they are not going to kill other people for the sake of getting a good lay. That's what it means. The pamphlet then gives tips to protect oneself from criminalization and does say that the best way to protect yourself, which is apparently more important than protecting your partner, is to tell your partner that you are infected. This section ends with the statement, get involved in advocacy to change the laws that violate your rights. In other words, your right to have a good lay is more important, according to Planned Parenthood, than the rights of the person that you sleep with to know. So, if you're gorgeous, just keep banging people. Give them all the diseases you want, right? Friends, I'm dead serious. This is going to be a huge, huge problem if it is not addressed really fast and stopped in its tracks. First, I can't. I've said all I have to say. If it needs to be explained to you any more than that, then I don't know what to say. End of the American dream. 20 super wealthy individuals have more money than the poorest 152 million Americans combined. Did you hear that, or did I just say it into the camera and you're ticking on your phone and you're texting your friends, trying to figure out whether you're going to get laid and whether or not the person has AIDS? Are you paying any attention? 20 people, 20 super wealthy individuals have more money than the poorest 152 million Americans combined. Michael Snyder writes, do we need any more evidence before we finally admit that the middle class in America is being systematically destroyed? Well, listen to this. The richest 20 Americans, with a combined net worth of $732 billion, are as wealthy as half of the U.S. population, according to a new study. Findings, sickening ones, showed that the country's 20 wealthiest people, which includes Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, now own more wealth than the bottom half of the population combined, which is, of course, 152 million people. 20 people. 20. The study by the Institute for Policy Studies also found that Americans' wealthiest 400, with a combined net worth of $2.34 trillion, own more wealth than the staggering 194 million people, which is the bottom 64% of the country. So you've got 20 people who have as much wealth as half the nation. And there are 400 people that are equal to the wealth of 61% of the nation. There, on Fact Cam, is quite clearly what he's talking about. Listen to this. 38% of all American workers made less than $20,000 last year. 51% of all American workers made less than $30,000 last year. If you made more than 30 grand last year, you're doing better than half the country. 62% of all American workers made less than $40,000 last year. And 71% of all American workers made less than $50,000 last year. And if you are extremely frugal, it says you might be able to support a middle-class family on 50 grand a year. But as you see, 71% of all American workers make less than that. So, of course, you have your wife or whatever work because you have to. But then what does that do to the family as a whole? You end up with Usher on the radio. You end up with, I'm in love with the go-go. You end up with brainless, idiot, boneheaded stuff when you do that. We're seeing the systematic destruction of our country, friends. If you can't see it, then I don't know how to make it more obvious. I've got a whole slew of stories to get to, so don't go away. I just want to remind you, you can support the show at the correct views of hotmail.com. Every penny you give to me goes towards a better show. The lights, the cameras, which we're still trying to sync properly, all of it. Also, you can look us up. I want to give you a shout out, if you could, to Change Transportation. If you're within about a 50-mile radius of Canton, Ohio, call Change Transportation, and you're going to get the best deal you've ever on a ride from point A to point B. Listen to this. This is brought to you here by Sticker Junkie. You can see it right here, stickerjunkie.com. What stickers do you want? Go ahead and order. Give them some idea what you want. Type in correct views in the promo code. You're going to save a bundle by letting them know you heard about it here. Express.co.uk. A miracle baby comes back from the dead 30 minutes after life support was switched off. Now, this story is going to matter to some people that you wouldn't think it normally would apply to. There's the little angel there. It's published by Laura Holland. My brother and I had the rather unhappy decision to make. My mother had sepsis, and she beat it. A few months later, she got sepsis again. And we left her on life support. She had a pain response, which means if you poke her with a pin or tickle her feet or, lightly tug her hair, she could tell you were there, but she couldn't communicate. We told her that we were giving her a little over 2 days on life support because the doctor said she wouldn't make it. And her whole system was shutting down. and we gave her that weekend. And Mom didn't win that one. We pulled the plug. We had to let her know we were pulling the plug, and we're pretty sure she was crying when we did it. Whether they were tears of joy or happiness, we do not know. Probably joy, because we were playing her favorite music and telling her that she was a great mother. There's been a part of me that wonders if whether or not that might have been a huge mistake, because she had 2 days of pure hell. Well, this convinces me that we did the right thing. 18-month-old Bella Moore Williams' parents could only watch helplessly as their sedated daughter took what they thought would be her last breath. Mother Francesca, 41, and Father Lee, 44, wept and took one last photograph of her brother Bobby, 5, before her ventilator was switched off. They also made prints of her hands and her feet as a memento and invited family members to the hospital to say farewell. Doctors have told them 3 times that it was unlikely that she would survive after they diagnosed a genetic disease. 30 minutes later, she began kicking and screaming. Mrs. Moore Williams said we had the whole family at our sides. On July 21st, we were told to say goodbye, do our goodbyes, and the whole family came in one by one to say them. I just kept sitting there thinking, why us? It was my heart-wrenching because you see family members cry that you've never seen cry before. I will never, ever forget that moment when I had to say goodbye to my daughter. Mr. Moore Williams said, he changed his name to Moore Williams? That's odd as hell. Mr. Moore Williams said I was holding her hand knowing that there was going to be a little last breath. I could feel her hand dropping, and it went down, but then she started gripping my finger. She started moving on her own, and then her machine started going off. The doctors then changed everything to try to keep her alive. The couple had filled out a form to say that no special measures should be taken to keep their daughter alive. However, after she started fighting for life again, the doctors decided to try and revive her. Well, how very white of them. Mr. Moore Williams, an account manager for a building firm, added the doctors changed their way of thinking, and they went in all the way to save her. In those 20 minutes, I realized that she simply wasn't letting go. Bella's oxygen levels shot back up to 100%, and later her parents were told that she would survive. So don't tell me miracles do not happen today. They do. For those of you on this mic, I'm so sorry about this coughing. She will still be under treatment, but back home in Clacton on the Sea, Essex, with her boyfriend, with her overjoyed family. They will celebrate Bella's 2nd birthday next month. Mrs. Moore Williams, a sales supervisor, said it's just amazing. It's like we have won the lottery. So, you know what? If you feel like you want to give your loved one a fighting chance, you might want to go ahead and do so. It says she could not sit up properly and failed tests to find a reason. In July, her condition worsened, and the doctors said it was likely mitochondrial disease in which the cells failed to produce enough energy. Well, Mrs. Moore Williams said she's now learning to talk, and her hair is growing back. She's even walking. She's about 8 months behind where she should be, but the doctors are confident that she can pick up quite quickly. We are excited to be together for Christmas and to sit back and watch them open their presents. Bella loves Father Christmas, so we can't wait to have Christmas, and we support. And we thought that we'd never have this 6 months ago. So God bless them. And don't tell me miracles don't happen anymore, because you know what they do. This is terrible. This is some of the absolute worst news I'm ever going to say on this show. Lemmy Kilmister, the godfather, the creator of heavy metal. You could say the Elvis of heavy metal, or you could say the Little Richie of heavy metal, since actually Little Richard created rock and roll. It wasn't Elvis. You see that a lot. I mean, not to digress, but Throbbing Gristle created industrial music, but it was Skinny Puppy that made it great. A few other bands, Front 242. Einsters in They Neubauten, anyone? Eddie Van Halen created a style, but it was Randy Rhoads who perfected it. Of course, Little Richard created rock and roll. Elvis perfected it. Well, Lemmy founded heavy metal. Listen to this. This is really sad. Look at this picture of him right there. That is Sebastian Bach of Skid Row holding up a mask of what Lemmy usually looks like. Beside him is the real Lemmy. That, my friends, is a travesty. Wide eyes staring out above sunken cheeks. Motorhead frontman Lemmy looks a shadow of his hell-raising younger self in these two photographs taken just days before his death. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, that's what you get when you live a hard-rocking, heavy metal lifestyle. He drank a bottle of Jack Day, and that's what he gets. Well, okay, you could possibly say that, but he lived to 70. He toured as recently as this summer. I think he was touring in the fall. So, I mean, he didn't die particularly young. He outlived my dad by a year and my mom. In one image, posted on Twitter by Sebastian Bach, frontman for the heavy metal band Skid Row, Lemmy is seen propped up against the bar. I'm just showing you that one there, obviously. It says the 70-year-old rocker with his two young female fans with another picture taken. And on Boxing Day, just 10 days after these images were shared online, Lemmy was told he had an aggressive cancer, though it was still not known what kind. So basically, 48 hours after he was told he had cancer, he died of cancer. So luckily, he didn't have to suffer with that fear that my dad had, that my grandmother had, that terrible, terrible fear. Thankfully, God, thank you so much. Lemmy did not have to go through that. Not all of it. I'm sure it wasn't a fun 2 days. 48 hours later, the heavy metal icon died while sitting in front of his favorite poker video game in his Los Angeles home, surrounded by his family. Lemmy, look at these pictures. There you go. There he is with those two aforementioned female fans. There's his birthday cake. He censored off a finger. Ridiculous. There he is. I mean, look at this. This is 2010. It felt like it was a long time ago. And he hasn't been sick. This is what the official Motorhead site said, of course. There's no easy way to say this. Our mighty, noble friend Lemmy has passed away today after a short battle with an extremely aggressive cancer. My guess would be liver. He had learned of the disease on December 26th and was at home, sitting by his favorite video game from the Rainbow, which had recently made its way down the street with his family. So I guess they brought him the video game? I don't know what that means. It says, we cannot begin to express our shock and sadness. There aren't words. We will say more in the coming days, but for now, please play Motorhead loud, play Hawkwind loud, and play Lemmy's music loud. Have a drink, or a few. Share stories. Celebrate the life this lovely, wonderful man celebrated so vibrantly himself. He would want exactly that. Ian Lemmy Kilmister, 1945-2015, born to lose, lived to win. Let me tell you something. I got to see the mighty Motorhead once, and they were great. Great. The man played chords on a bass. Do you understand? He played chords on a bass. That's what gave them that full, rich sound. They could be a three-piece, and they had the force of Metallica. They even covered Enter Sandman. That's how. His death was announced in a statement on the Motorhead Facebook page, which remembered a mighty noble friend and called on fans to play his music loud and to have a drink or a few. Well, you know what I did? I played The Game. I played the cover of Enter Sandman, and I played my favorite Motorhead song, Them Not Me. And I cranked them where I worked. His news sent shockwaves through the metal industry, of course, the music industry, I should say, with Ozzy Osbourne, Billy Idol, and Brian May tributing their friend. They give us a little bit of Motorhead. I probably won't be able to monetize this video, but it's fine. Let's remember what a legend sounds like in a world of garbage, Katy Perry crap that nobody wants to listen to. It said he worked as a roadie for Jimi Hendrix and played bass in the space rock band Hawkwind before being kicked out for drug abuse. Then founding Motorhead in '75. What he said was he got thrown out for using the wrong drugs. They were all on drugs. They really were. There he is. If I play too much, they won't let me monetize it. Cementing his rock and roll credentials, he boasted about sleeping with more than 1,000 women and claimed that he drank a bottle of Jack Daniels every day for years. That's not a good call. He was also, of course, he collected Third Reich memorabilia, but he said he collected memorabilia, not ideals. He had black girlfriends, for crying out loud. I believe him. He wasn't a Nazi. I wouldn't be wearing the uniforms he wore, but he just liked the way they looked, that's all. He said it repeatedly. Ozzy said he lost one of his best friends. Lemmy today will be sadly missed. He was a warrior and a legend. He said, I'll see you on the other side. Hopefully not too soon, Oz, man. Grammy Award-winning band Motorhead released 23 studio albums over a 40-year period. It announced Kilmister's death. There he is with Gene Simmons. Billy Idol, R.I.P. Motorhead, my condolences to his family. Sharon Osbourne, my dear friend Lemmy passed away today. I've known him for 38 years. He will be missed and he will never be forgotten. It's awful, friends. Literally, it's awful. Shock and sadness, to say the least. When we say one of a kind in rock and roll, Lemmy was the epitome of that, one of the most beloved characters in all of rock and roll. And I can't think of anyone who didn't adore Lemmy. You can't say heavy metal without mentioning Lemmy. And if you're a 13-year-old kid learning to play bass, you want to play like Lemmy. He is one of those. He's one of a kind. And I will personally miss seeing him on the road. We've done many, many shows with him. And we used to look forward to it every time. Rock and Roll Heaven just got heavier. That's from Alice Cooper. Fellow Christian, by the way. Since tributes poured in from all over. Ex-Motorhead guitarist Fast Eddie Clarke, who played from 76 to 82, saying that he was like a brother. Basically, this was a really good man. Motley Crue, Nikki Sixx says, I'll miss you, buddy, in our conversations. You were always a pillar of dignity. Rest in peace, Lemmy. A pillar of dignity. What a great thing to be called when you die. Anybody hearing me? Metallica. You can't get a higher accolade, can you? Look, Metallica said, you're one of the primary reasons this band exists. We'll forever be grateful for your inspiration. Rest in peace. Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Will make Christelle happy. Oh my, Lemmy got let in on the big secret. I love the way he worded that. Knowing that there's something beyond this life. That there is a heaven. There is an afterlife. Listen, Lemmy got let in on the big secret, writes Flea. One of the greatest rockers of all time. Amazingly unique. Incredible bass player. My hero. Wow. That's Flea. One of the best bass players that ever lived. Mega Geek Meltdown. My friend died today. We'll miss you. Your name is Lemmy, and you played rock and roll. Rest in peace, my man. He used to always say, we're Motorhead, and we play rock and roll. That was always the way he opened the show. We play rock and roll. Rock band Judas Priest, my personal favorite, tweeted, words about Lemmy can never be enough. So we will simply say farewell, Lord Lemmy, and thank you for your music in the shows. Aerosmith drummer, who I got to see them last summer, one of the best drummers I've ever seen in my life. Joey Kramer added, rest in peace, Lemmy, heaven is rocking tonight. This is awful, literally awful. Corey Taylor said, your name was Lemmy, you played rock and roll, singer, Slipknot. And this is what, in his own words, Lemmy had to say. I was a roadie for Jimi Hendrix, so I'm hard to fucking impress. Lemmy said it in his own words. Motorhead frontman Lemmy will be remembered not only for his great music, but also for his many memorable quotes. Quote, they would come to stage, the Beatles, and I was just awestruck. They had that presence, which was very rare. Hendrix had it. Ozzy Osbourne has it to some extent. You either got it or you don't. Ozzy definitely has it. From an interview with The Independent, I like being the center of attention as much as anybody, so I don't mind. I was in it for the girls at first, to tell you the truth. I think if more musicians told the truth, that their main reason why most of them were in it. When you're young and you're desperate to get laid, you work out that being a bricklayer isn't that attractive. That's hilarious. It's actually not why I got into music, by the way, but I found that to be rather common among other people, so at least he's honest. Our Guns N' Roses bassist Duff McCragen said, rest in peace, Lemmy, a hell of a man who suffered no fools. Amen. You shall be missed, brother, and thank you for the years of unwavering kick-ass rock and roll. This is from another interview in The Independent. There's only two kinds of music I can't stand, rap and opera. Opera because it's too overblown, and rap because I just don't hear it. I don't get it. It's noise. Well, not all of it. I mean, you got like Steve Grant and that. Rapper Ice-T said he just got the sad news about the loss of Lemmy from Motorhead. Rip in hell, raise some hell, homie. I got to hang with Lemmy and did a song on his video in a movie. Beverly Knight, who was starring in Grisbella in Cats, the musical, said it was a wonderful, gravelly voice. Now, that wonderful, gravelly voice is now silenced. That's the saddest statement I've heard. That brings tears to your eyes, doesn't it? From an interview with Rolling Stone, I was a roadie for I read that one to you. You've got to beat Jimi Hendrix to impress me, so I don't see you doing that. I always thought Jimmy was overrated, but whatever. When asked by Rolling Stone if he listened to younger bands during the 2012 interview, he said, I don't know happily married couples, and not even my parents. There was a magazine in England who said I screwed 2,000 women, and I did. I said 1,000. And when you think about it, it isn't that unreasonable. I'm not even married, and I've been doing this since I was 16, and I'm now 66. So it's like 50 years. I could have done more if I'd have tried, I guess. In other words, he's saying he was promiscuous, but he would never hurt anybody. Author Neil Gaiman, of course, the Sandman, said, "Rest in peace, Lemmy, a man I saw playing the fruit machines in late night dives, and once thanked me for getting into one. Once thanked for getting me into one." Awfully worded sentence. It must have been a tweet. Figures of the World Wrestling, in which the band was a close affinity, posted messages. WWE star Triple H said, "Rest in peace, Lemmy. One life lived your way from the beginning to the end. See you at the end of the road, my friend. Thank you with the gift of your sound." Of course, he made music for the WWE quite often. The Game was one of his best tracks. Stone Cold Steve Austin added, "Damn, just heard Lemmy passed away. Swig of beer with one hand to one badass original rocker, Motorhead, one of the all-time most influential bands." Bubba Ray Dudley, also a WE star, tweeted about it. Said, "Glad to have met you with a drink of Jack and Cokes." And the news of Killmister's death hit off Los Angeles particularly hard. Eddie Trunk said, "Sorry to report that it's confirmed, of course, Lemmy's passed away at the age of 70, an rock and roll icon." It's interesting. He said he never married because the love of his life, a woman named Susan Bennett, had died of a heroin overdose at 19, and he dedicated his autobiography to Miss Bennett. He struggled to quit his vices in later years, according to the band's manager, of course, Todd Sangerman. He was born in 45 in Stock-on-Trent. He was born on Christmas Eve, so he just turned 70. He barely made it. Very young. The group later became one of the defining metal bands of the 80s. He wrote an autobiography, White Line Fever, that he had been fired from his previous band, Hawkwood, for doing the wrong drugs. He once got popped in Canada for drugs, so he wasn't a saint. But I mean, last summer, Glastonbury, look at him. He doesn't look particularly healthy, but he doesn't look like he's going to die. There he is in the 80s. And he was also known for his Third Reich memorabilia. He had an iron cross encrusted on his base, but he maintained, I collect stuff, I don't collect ideas. He said, "By collecting Nazi memorabilia, it doesn't mean that I'm a fascist or a skinhead. I just like the clobber. I've always liked a good uniform, and throughout history, it's always been the bad guys who dressed the best. Napoleon, the Confederates, the Nazis." Of course, he had diabetes, and he was fighting that. He had to have a pacemaker put in. They had postponed a string of shows earlier in the year. Decibel magazine said he'd been up and down. He had a really bad diabetic problem, and he had changes with it on a daily basis. A lot of it's fighting the bad habits, the things he's not supposed to do anymore. He stopped smoking, and he probably sneaks a Jack and Coke here and there. He'd be lying if he said he completely stopped. And hours before appearing on the Monsters of Rock Festival in Brazil, that's great, in April, Killmister was reportedly taken in with gastric distress and dehydration. In 2013, they postponed it while he had a hematoma, which is a dreadful bruise. My dad had one of those. He was fitted with a defibrillator to correct heart problems. In a recent interview with the German magazine Lust for Life, Killmister said he had close to death during his last surgery. "It was only a moment I was stalked by the devil called doubt, and I wondered if I would make it. I'm not afraid of death. I often sing about it." Shout out to Killed by Death. "So I wasn't shaking in my bed, but I did have a feeling that I wasn't done yet. I still wanted to do more shows and make more records. That feeling pulled me through all of this. Motorhead were set to tour the UK in January in support of their 23rd album, Bad Magic, which I did not know came out and will now want to hear even more, which was released in August of this year. I didn't think they'd release one so quick because they released the last one, and I played the tar out of that. They released this rather quickly, which caught me off guard, so I will be checking it out. In June, the band graced Glastonbury. Just in June, he was playing Glastonbury. For the first time in their 40-year history, playing a triumphant return on the Pyramid stage. Of course, best known for the Ace of Spades. And there you go. There's she looks stoned, doesn't she? And there he is with Billy Idol. That was in '89. Awful news, friends. Yeah, I spent some time on it. You're damn straight I did. Damn straight I did, and I don't feel bad that I did. Lemmy Kilmister. Rest in peace, buddy. I love you. I remember jamming to study hall to No Sleep at All. Everybody likes the other live album they did. No. One of the best live albums, perhaps one of the most underappreciated live albums of all time, is No Sleep at All by Motorhead. If you've never heard it, listen to it. It used to be that you weren't allowed to take headphones into your classes. So I would wear long sleeve shirts and run the headphones split and sit like this in study hall and just jam out. And just because you got the power, that don't mean you got the right. I mean, God, I listen to it all the time. I can't believe he's gone. All right, I gave a lot of time to it. Lemmy, my dear bass player, rest in peace. And that brings us to the DUMBDEE, I might add, DUMBDEE of the day. For those of you that don't know, I do the Dunce Cap of the Month once every month. And this will be no exception. An exception. I give you the DUMBDEE of the day every day. So I'm going to go ahead and give you that out of the way. We've been going like an hour, but like I said, I've been going through a lot of personal stuff. I've been gone for a minute. So I gave you a nice long show. You can't say I gave you a depressing show, for crying out loud. I saw Lemmy off. I did my job. Berlin, Germany. This DUMBDEE of the day goes to Merkel, the president of Germany, for letting these idiots in unvetted. I am Muslim. What are you? Muslims beat Christians for Christmas fun. If you guys want to hear all the Christmas links I got rid of, let me know. Leave a comment, and I promise you I'll get back to it. I will look up my bookmarks, and I will give you that story. Let me know you want to hear about the free speech persecution of Christians. I'll give you a whole half hour on it. I got a whole bunch of stories, and I just didn't do them. A group of Christian men was jumped outside a club in Berlin on Christmas Eve. The Muslims asked the Christian men, I am Muslim. What are you? Before beating the men. Oh, it's the religion of peace. Says Germany is searching for migrants who entered the country using the same passport as the Paris terrorists did. I call them Paris. Germany welcomed nearly 1 million third world immigrants this year. Well, if 10% of them hate us, that's a pretty big number when I went to school. And German officials do not even take fingerprints of arriving asylum seekers. Well, why would you? Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Via Vlad Tepes and Der Spiegel translated. Vlad Tepes, what a name. I am Muslim. What are you? After asking the question, Muslims beat on Christians at Berlin Mitte on the second day of Christmas on Potsdam Platz. At least 5 injured men happened as a result of a fight on early Sunday evening in Berlin Kindergarten. The police are still investigating, but what they do know is so far that 5 men, after leaving the club Adagio at 1720 on the Marlene Dietrich Plaza, were accosted by a man who asked about their religion. The police report said that the unknown man said, I am Muslim. Who are you? What are you? The question resulted in a verbal shouting match. Suddenly more people arrived on the scene, and together with the unknown Muslim, they started beating on the men aged 24, 24, and 25. A 19-year-old man who tried to calm the men down was injured in the face. Right before the police arrived, perpetrators fled the scene, of course. The injured young men did not wish for medical treatment on the spot, and they said they were going to go to the clinic themselves. According to police, the young men that were attacked were from Serbia and Montenegro and are Orthodox Christians. Just do me a favor. Don't tell me there's no persecution going on. Don't tell me that we need to let all these people unvetted into our country because we don't know who's coming in. I'm not against helping people that need help. But remember, Ellis Island quarantined people. You bring us your hungry, you eat, I get it. You realize they were there for anywhere between 30 to 60 days before they were let loose into the country. They were vetted. And that's what we all want to see now. And that's why a lot of us are going to vote for Trump. It has nothing to do with hatred or bigotry. Friends, you're listening to The Correct Wheels. I've gone for about an hour for you with the remains of a head cold. I've been gone for a moment, but I'm reminding you why you hit subscribe. I gave you quite a show, friends. Good night, God bless, and Happy New Year.